stop. If you have a credit card, this might be the most expensive mistake of your life, and you don't even realize it yet. Right now, as you're watching this, money could be leaving your future, silently, invisibly, without any alarm, without any warning, hundreds, maybe thousands of dollars slipping away while everything feels completely normal. And that's exactly why it's dangerous. Because if it felt painful, you would stop. But it doesn't. It feels easy. It feels controlled. It feels like you've got it handled. And that's the illusion. Over 111 million Americans are stuck in credit card debt right now. And the most shocking part is not the number. It's the fact that most of them believe they're being responsible. They're making payments on time. They're not missing bills. They're even collecting rewards, points, cashback. It feels like they're playing the game correctly. But behind the scenes, something else is happening. They're not winning. They're slowly being drained. And by the end of this, you're going to see something you can't unsee. You were never meant to win this system in the first place. Let's break it down in the simplest way possible. Because once you see it clearly, it becomes impossible to ignore. Imagine you have just $2,000 in credit card debt. Not extreme, not alarming, pretty average. Now at an interest rate of around 22%, which is completely normal today. Your minimum payment might be somewhere around $50. That sounds manageable, right? That's the trap. Because what you think is happening is that you're paying off your debt slowly. But what's actually happening is completely different. Most of that $50 doesn't go toward reducing your balance. It goes toward interest, meaning your debt barely moves. You pay, and pay, and pay, but you stay almost exactly where you started. You're not escaping the hole, you're maintaining it. You're paying just enough to stay stuck. And the system is perfectly fine with that, because the longer you stay there, the more money it makes from you. And here's how it really begins. Not with one big, reckless decision. Not with a massive purchase. It starts quietly, almost invisibly, with small, harmless choices. A $12 subscription. A $25 dinner. A late-night order when you're tired and don't feel like cooking. I deserve this moment after a long day. None of it feels dangerous. None of it feels like it could spiral. And that's exactly why it works. Because your brain doesn't see it as a problem. It sees it as normal behavior. You swipe your card, and nothing happens. No money leaves your wallet. No physical loss. No resistance. Just convenience. And your brain loves convenience. But what your brain doesn't process is that every swipe is a delayed consequence. It's not free, it's just postponed. And when those postponed decisions start stacking up, something shifts. One day, you open your app, check your balance, and there's a moment, a pause, where you think, wait, how did it get this high? And you don't have a clear answer, because it didn't happen in one moment. It happened slowly, quietly, over time. Now you're in a cycle. And this is where most people get stuck. You spend a little, then you make the minimum payment. You feel slightly relieved because you handled it. Then life happens again. Another expense, another swipe, another justification, and the cycle repeats. Spend, pay minimum, stress, repeat. And the worst part is, it feels like you're trying. It feels like you're being responsible, but the result never changes. Your balance doesn't drop significantly. Your stress doesn't go away. And over time, that stress starts affecting everything, your decisions, your mindset, your confidence. You start questioning yourself. Why can't I get ahead? Why does it feel like I'm always behind? And slowly, without realizing it, you start blaming yourself. But here's the truth that almost no one tells you clearly enough. Credit cards are not designed to help you succeed. They are designed to keep you engaged. If every single person paid their balance in full every month, the entire system would collapse. Because the real money is not in convenience, it's in interest. It's in people carrying balances. It's in people staying in the cycle. So the system is built in a way that encourages exactly that behavior. Minimum payments are intentionally low so they feel easy. Rewards programs are designed to make spending feel like a smart move. Limited time offers create urgency so you act faster. 0% interest periods pull you in before the real cost hits later. Everything is structured to keep you using the card, not escaping it. And once you understand that, something shifts. You stop seeing it as a neutral tool. You start seeing it as a system with a goal, and that goal is not your financial freedom. Let's make it even clearer. Imagine you owe $5,000 on your credit card with a 20% interest rate. That means roughly $1,000 per year is being added just in interest if the balance stays. Now, if you're only making minimum payments, you could take over a decade to pay it off. And by the end of it, you might have paid back $9,000 or even $10,000. Think about that. You borrowed $5,000, but you gave back double. That difference didn't come from nowhere. It came from time, from interest, from staying in the system longer than you expected. And the longer you stay, the more expensive it becomes to leave. It's not just a financial cost, it's a time cost. Years of payments, years of mental stress, years of feeling stuck. But numbers alone don't explain everything. Because if this was just math, more people would escape. The real reason this works so well is psychological. When you use cash, your brain feels the loss immediately. There's a physical separation. You hand something over, and it's gone. That creates resistance. It forces you to think twice. But with a credit card, that resistance disappears. There's no immediate loss, just a quick tap or swipe, and your brain interprets that as less significant. Studies have shown that people spend significantly more when using cards compared to cash, not because they want to overspend, but because it doesn't feel like spending in the moment. And when that disconnect happens repeatedly, your sense of control weakens. You're making decisions without fully feeling their impact. And that's where the cycle strengthens. Now layer emotion on top of that. Stress, frustration, boredom, even celebration, these all influence spending. When you're stressed, you look for relief. When you're bored, you look for stimulation. When you're celebrating, you justify spending more. And credit cards make it incredibly easy to act on those impulses instantly, which means your emotional state starts driving your financial decisions. And those decisions start reinforcing your financial situation. More stress leads to more spending. More spending leads to more debt. More debt leads to more stress. It's a loop. A powerful, self-reinforcing loop that's hard to break because it doesn't feel like one big problem. It feels like a series of small, unrelated choices. This is where most people are right now, not failing dramatically, but struggling quietly, making payments every month, but not seeing real progress, feeling like they're doing their best, but still falling behind. And because everyone around them is in a similar situation, it feels normal. Debt becomes part of life, something you manage, not something you question. And that normalization is one of the strongest forces keeping people stuck. Because if something feels normal, you don't challenge it, you accept it, even if it's hurting you. But once you step back and really look at it, the pattern becomes clear. The system profits when you stay in it. It profits from time, from interest, from consistency. The longer you carry a balance, the more predictable and valuable you become. That's why the focus isn't on helping you exit, it's on keeping you comfortable enough to continue, comfortable enough to keep swiping, comfortable enough to keep paying, comfortable enough to stay in the loop without fully realizing it. So what actually breaks this cycle? Not a hack, not a shortcut, not a single trick. It starts with a shift in perception. You stop seeing your credit card as an extension of your money, because it isn't. It's an advance on your future. Every swipe is a commitment your future self has to fulfill. And when you truly internalize that, your behavior starts to change. You pause before spending. You question whether something is worth the future cost. You become more intentional. And that intention is where control begins. Because at the end of the day, the system only works if you stay unaware. It depends on you not questioning it too deeply. It depends on you continuing the cycle without stepping back. But the moment you see it clearly, the dynamic changes. You're no longer reacting automatically. You're choosing deliberately. And that difference, between reaction and choice, is everything. Think back to that first example. That small balance that didn't seem like a big deal. That's how it starts for almost everyone. Quiet, manageable, easy to ignore. But over time, without awareness, it grows. It compounds. It takes up more space, not just in your finances, but in your mind. Until one day, it feels heavy, overwhelming, like something you can't fully control. But that only happens if the pattern continues unchecked. Now, you see the pattern. You understand how it works. You see the connection between small decisions and long-term outcomes. And that awareness gives you something most people never develop. Not more money, not more discipline, but clarity. And clarity changes how you act. It changes how you think. It changes how you respond in the moments that used to be automatic. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to eliminate every mistake. But you do need to recognize the system you're operating in. Because once you do, you stop playing it blindly. You start making moves with intention. And over time, those small, intentional decisions begin to break the cycle that once felt impossible to escape. And that's the difference between staying stuck and finally moving forward.